Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to TE Academy study season. Today, with the session TE Value Capturing Fundamentals, we'll work with Vasily again on the classification of tokens. This track's name is TE Value Capturing Fundamentals, and the study season is still open. Just in case you're following us via Twitter or via YouTube, you can register for the study season still to get access to all materials and recordings. You'll be able to follow the sessions with Vasily and all other live tracks, in total 8. And you'll have the chance to acquire your proof of knowledge in TE Value Capturing Fundamentals. More information about how to get these NFTs proof of knowledge in the course and on our Notion information hub. Again, you'll have access once you register via tokenengineering.net. Before we start, I'd like to share a great opportunity. We, the token engineering community and TE Academy, will be at EFCC with a full day of token engineering talks curated by the Token Engineering Academy. 15 talks in total. We announced them today via Twitter, Token Engineering. And this will be just the greatest and best opportunity to meet token engineering friends, a member of the community, the speakers. And you need an EFCC ticket, and these tickets are sold out very quickly. And that's why we are currently running an EFCC ticket giveaway. So you can win one of these 5 tickets worth €500 each if you refer the Token Engineering Reads published by TE Academy to your friends. So spread the word about great token engineering content, about our community newsletter, where we share the latest research developments in the space, tools, and events with our community. Just spread the word, refer to 3 friends by May 24th, so still 3 days left, and you'll have the chance to win a free EFCC ticket. That's it from my side. Vasily, I hand over to you. Great to have you on board, and great to have you on board, everyone. Let's work on the TE value capturing framework again. Hello.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. So nice to meet you, and thank you for your homeworks. I provided some feedbacks. Of course, these feedback are quite short, but of course, I can provide more for you if you need more detailed description. So let's go to the session. So hopefully, at this time, I will have more precise time planning to not miss anything there. So what is the plan for today? So first of all, it will be a recap on demand side. The second, we will dig into the value capture mechanisms as I think the key element of my value capturing approach and classification framework, and you will use it for your own token engineering designs, analysis, and stuff. So we'll dig into the periodic table because there are a lot of value capturing mechanisms. So how to navigate in this space is much more easier when it all is structured and easy to navigate. So we'll do that. We'll go to the pathway for new token creation and analyzing new tokens. I think it possibly is the most demanded knowledge here, how to create something new or how to analyze the existing tokens in an efficient way. Describe a little bit of value capturing implementation patterns, and have a Q&A session after that. So what are goals for today? The main goal is to understand the value capturing mechanism concept, because it's, I think, the most important topic for this lecture. So how to apply this concept to the new token design and analyzing tokens, how to navigate in the economic design space. And the last one is more of like a philosophical one, how to gain value first economic thinking, because when you deploy a new asset, you need to think about how it captures value, how it works. And so it's one of important cornerstone things that I think you should think about. So let's make a little recap on demand side. So as we discussed before, that the basically token engineering process has 2 main sides, supply side and demand side. So supply side answering the questions how token is distributed, how token incentive works, how some token sales works and stuff. So it is mainly describing the process of distributing tokens to the community and to the, the token holder set. And another part is the demand side, which is focusing on basically the question that I wrote here. If you own this token and you use it according to the functions that are designed for this token, what value you derive. So what you can do with the token, what value you can get, and how it influences the ecosystem and stuff. So demand side is like specifically side describing the value capturing. So and this is our primary focus here. So yeah, so we need to remind the original value concept first of all. And as I said before, the token could be considered as a key, like a napkin analogy, a key that allowing to share to capture a share of value from the ecosystem by token holders. So it's elementary economic pattern that is based on the system policy applied to a token, and it allows you as a token holder to get some part of coordination value from the system. So it means that, for example, if the agents coordinated in some, for example, DeFi protocol, they generated some protocol fees and getting the share of these fees from some cash flow like mechanism, you getting a part of the value captured in the protocol. If you can vote and influence the decision making in the system, you also can capture the share of value in this protocol by allocating the resources that are captured by the system and maybe selling out your votes in a legit bribing process, which is widespread in DeFi so far, or something else, right? So if the system and agents coordination created some unique resource and you're getting an access to this unique resource, you're also getting values, and token also can provide you that. So, and basically the token value function that describes token utility contains two parts. One is positive one, Q, and one is negative one, L. We dig into it a lot in the previous session. So the most important takeaway here is that the Q is positive utility that you can get as a token holder from using the token according to its functions, and negative part is mainly part which is required for successful and safe coordination of agents, such as token staking, such as conditional actions, and some other stuff. So yeah, this is quite important to understand that coordination also has some cost, right? Even if we will go to the simple mining analogy, we will remember that comparing the Bitcoin and Ethereum, we can see that in Ethereum, the coordination occurs in via the staking for the validators nodes, and all the validators, they have risks on the stakes. If they will make some attacks on the Ethereum consensus, they will be slashed. And in Bitcoin level, it is done in off-chain computations using finding the proper nonce for getting the block header. So basically, the Bitcoin also has some mechanism for coordination. Obviously, it was one of the biggest inventions there, but it is occurs purely off-chain, and as you know, consumes a lot of resources. I mean energy. So you can see how the this coordination costs, and the organizing the coordination using the economic mechanisms, like more than just a computational competitiveness, has a positive impact. So you can just see this analogy in Ethereum and learn more about the coordination costs. So yeah, talking about the origins of value or keys, as I providing the analogy, the keys that capture coordination of value, we can have 6 positive ones and 2 negative ones. So regarding the positive ones, it's value transfer, when the value is gained from the involvement in transactions. I want to mention that some students on homeworks, they said that the stablecoin has a value transfer original value. It doesn't, because the value of stablecoin, it's pegged to $1, for example, isn't gained from the involvement in transactions, right? The US dollar gets a value from being involved on transactions worldwide, and the stablecoin just represents the US dollar using some representation mechanisms and peg stability mechanisms. So yeah, the fact that stablecoin is used for transactions doesn't provide value of $1 to this particular ERC20 token, for example. It's really important, like from the methodological point of view. Yeah, the future cash flow is when you can extract some cash flow from the system and get some value of the system by the cash flow extraction. The governance, when you can manage the limited resources of the system, which were created by the coordination of agents before. So yeah, as you could see, this all these definitions, they were slightly changed in order to focus on agent coordination, value creation, and capturing after that. So access provides some value to a token because you can access some unique resource which was created by the agent's coordination in the system, right? So with the representation is when you can gain gain value for some asset based on being represented by other asset. And even talking about the stable coins, the representation of US dollar means that there are a big network of users of US dollar somewhere off chain, and all of these taxation system, settlement system, and worldwide banking that finally provide value to a dollar. There are a lot of mechanisms, like I think more than one lecture just to discuss the like value of US dollars. But yeah, when you represent something, this something has its own value based on often on some coordination. Of course, there are some real world assets like real estate and this and that. But anyway, so just for your understanding. So yeah, hedonic value is when there's a system that produces some value based on agents coordination, and you can capture this value using a token. For example, there is a big, very developed community of Bored Apes or CryptoPunks, and you owning a CryptoPunk, you also capture share of the value that was created by a lot of CryptoPunks holders and their coordination actions to make this CryptoPunk narrative one of the most popular NFTs so far. So yeah, think about this in this way. So, and for the negative ones, we have risk exposure and conditional action. And as you could see, the definitions were also changed to focus on coordination here. So yeah, risk exposure is mainly the risk applied for a token to achieve the successful coordination in a network. And conditional action is some actions that you need to perform also for successful coordination in the network. So it means that these two negative ones, they appear not from the thin air, but because of a real necessity in the system. This is what I want to mention. So, and we started from this, right? So for instance, value capture, we need to focus on demand side, we need to spread value origins, but what next? I said that I will cover this in session 2, but session 2 is today. So yeah, let's cover it so far. So what will be the next after this, after the value origins? So first of all, okay, if you have more than one origins of value working together in some system, and these two origins of value have a direct connection and depend on each other, they form a value capturing mechanism. So it's something more complex, and we will dig into this more complex stuff on the next slide. But what if we have several value capturing mechanisms in one system? It's also possible. I will present some examples on that. So it means that the token model is a combination of value capturing mechanisms implemented in code, because if you have some theoretical value capturing mechanisms, it wouldn't work, right? We need to deliver it in Solidity, test, and have it on the mainnet deployment. Yeah, so finally, the ideation for value capturing mechanisms has 4 stages. Focus on demand side, why someone will use the token, separate value origins, understand what to do if there is more than one value origins, and introduce the concept of value capturing mechanism, and consider token model as a combination of value capturing mechanisms. So this is the main idea here. So, and so we come to the 3-level hierarchy in understanding the value capture. So we have origins of value that we described before. It's like a separate GR. So this is a mechanical analogy for easier understanding what it is. So the value capture mechanism is a particular economic mechanism which is composed from interacting origins of value. And this value capture mechanism covers value capturing and coordinational requirements at the same time. And these are like 2 GRs that working together, but it's still a theoretical example, right? So this is just 2 GRs on the paper. They really doesn't work. And the value capturing implementation pattern is the value capturing mechanism that someone implemented in code, deployed, and it really works now, and you can use it. So, and piece of the bike consists two gears, essentially in the bike chain that connects them. It's a real mainnet deployment. You use this bike, you can finally get some value from the bike, right? You never will get value from two gears on the paper. So, and this three-level hierarchy can be also presented as the graph. And this is very important to understand what depends on what and what is connected with what. So we have an origins of value level, value capturing mechanism level, and value capturing implementation pattern level. So sometimes the value capturing implementation pattern can contain two value capturing mechanisms, just because the code is written this way, but economically they can be distinguished. So yeah, and using the graph, you can start from the origins of value, proceed with the value capturing mechanisms, and finalize your thoughts with value capturing implementation patterns, and decompose the whole value capturing process of a token, all the roots, from the roots to the mainnet deployment. This is the and very important piece that of this idea is that we distinguish the implementations and value capturing mechanisms, because some value capturing mechanisms can have several implementations. Specifically in governance, there can be dozens of them, right? And at the same time, one value capturing mechanism implemented as a value capturing implementation pattern can be used in different projects. We will also see such examples at this lecture. So if we will think about the landscape of the value capturing mechanism, we will find out that the number of combinations is 255 minus one, right? One is the empty one without a single origin of value, so it doesn't have any sense. So 255 possible mechanisms available for us as token engineers according to this classification. But of course, if we will dig a little bit deeper into the economical logic, we will find out that some of mechanisms are wouldn't exist definitely, right? Because they're just economically completely irrational or make no sense at all. So talking about the mechanisms, there are three types of mechanisms: trivial mechanisms, complex mechanisms, and meta mechanisms, as I named them. So the trivial mechanisms are mechanisms that contain only one original value. So the value transfer itself is also a value capture mechanism, right? But if you will add something else to value transfer, and these two origins of value will work together, it will be a complex mechanism. So complex mechanism is a mechanism containing more than one origins of value, right? So from the 6 origins of value, it seems to get that we will get 6 trivial mechanisms, but it's not so easy because one of them doesn't exist. The governance requires participation and active voting for coordination. So it means that considering governance, we always need to add a conditional action there to make it really, describe it properly from my point of view. So yeah, let's dig into these trivial ones, the simple ones. So the value transfer, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and 1.0 era before the proof of stake, Monero, and other classical cryptocurrencies. Now, Ethereum also has a value transfer mechanism, but it is not the only mechanism that Ethereum has. Of course, everybody knows that Ethereum has a proof of stake, and this is consensus and quite notable milestone in token engineering in general. So we also go to this a little bit later. So for the dividends, there are not so many examples on the market because of legal problems, I think, because the dividends are almost always coupled with some governance mechanics. But for the dividends, there's from the big and projects that I know, this is a liquidity LUSD token that receives some dividends or some mint fee from the system, but doesn't offer any kind of governance because it's governance minimized system. For the access NFTs, they're mainly presented by NFTs like tickets, POAPs, and stuff. For example, you own some POAPs and you have a ability to buy some tickets on conferences with discount, like Ethereum CC or DevCon. For example, I bought a DevCon ticket using my token engineering POAPs with a discount and without a general key. So thanks for token engineering. You need to know that you have an access value capturing mechanism in NFT. And sometimes it really works. So the representation, it's mainly some assets that have value based on, as I said before, on some other networks or protocols. Here I mentioned the Lido stake Ethereum definitely has value because it's representation of Ethereum inside the Lido validators, USDC, and the LP token of Curve Pool, because this LP token represents the USDT, USDC, and DAI stablecoins. Yeah, hedonic value can be presented by NFTs. A lot of examples on that. Yeah, but what about more complex value capture mechanisms? So I have several examples here before we'll go to the table. So let's start with the work token. The eigenlayer token model gained a lot of attention to work tokens finally, because before some people know about work tokens, some not, but after the eigen proposed probably the biggest work token so far in terms of possible market cap and influence on the market, it becomes even more important to discuss work tokens. So how work token works? This mechanism contains three origins of value. So it contains risk exposure, conditional action, and future cash flow, which are interconnected. So the main idea behind work token is that in some kind of a network or a protocol, there are some agents that need to perform some kind of a job. This job can be like some computations or some file hosting or transaction signing or even making some decisions like in eigen, right? So the work is not only algorithmical and like very like automated. It can be also human labor of some kind. There are no limits for the nature of the work for the work token, right? So if the agents deliver the work in a proper way and do everything correct, they receive the reward from the end users of the system. If they make some malicious behavior, yeah, and the question starts from the point if they do some malicious behavior, right? We need to think what to do. So here the risk exposure comes to play. So because any kind of work execution could be attacked by a single attack, right? You can create a lot of agents that will fail the work on purpose and fail the system as a result, and your system wouldn't work properly based on that. So you need to secure your system somehow from these attacks. And the only way in Web3 that we have is to get some token stake, something that will be taken out from the agent as a penalty in case of misbehavior. And ideally, this penalty should be bigger than the reward for the work, of course, to be sure that there is no economic, rationality behind failing. Because if somebody will just fail all the works, but will be penalized for a bigger amount of value, just will burn his capital, right? So, and basically the only way to protect systems from such kind of attacks is to get some token stake. So the skin in the game, and this is a requirement for coordination in the system. Without this requirement, system wouldn't work properly. So this is why we got a risk exposure. Sometimes people think that the reputation can be also a mechanism for protecting systems. Yes, it can. It definitely can, but the question is, okay, how to gain this reputation? So the process of gaining reputation is also, a process when there can be a lot of pseudonymous malicious agents are registered from one point of view, from another point of view. If the work was failed and the end customer of the network received some severe losses from that, the fact that someone will lose reputation wouldn't pay it back, right? So this is why we will see that in the majority of work tokens, like in the majority of systems where some work is required, the work tokens are used, or the risk tokens are used. In case of Angular, that tried to generalize this concept, but yeah, it's topic for a separate discussion. Yeah, so we have a risk exposure that comes down to the token stake for a node or for ability to perform some work and get a cash flow, and we have a conditional action, basically the work that should be done. So if you are using a work token, you need to deliver some work, right? It's easy. So this is and like at the end, what we have a token that has a value capturing mechanism that has a future cash flow as a positive part of the utility function, risk exposure as the negative part, because the chance to be slashed like decreases value of the token for you, and the conditional action that you need to spend some time and effort to perform the job also decreases the utility for you. But finally, it's a cash flow based token that requires some work to be done and some risks to be carried. And the notable example is of course Eigenlayer, and I will provide a special paper on it soon. Live peer, PowerPool, and some other work tokens. Mostly the majority of DP networks are work tokens so far. So it's a quite widespread value capturing mechanism. The second one that I want to discuss is a consensus. And for example, in Eigenlayer paper, the Ethereum consensus is referred to work token, but of course everybody can't have its own classification and terminology. So from my point of view, the consensus significantly is distinguished from the work token because of the several parameters. So first, there is no particular job owner for the consensus tokens because the chain is a job owner. So and mainly all properties of the job, which is performed by the validators, are hard coded in the consensus. So it's only one type of job, which is hard coded from day one and can be changed on very special events like a hard forks. I think you cannot remember a lot of examples of changing, for example, some critical parameters of Ethereum, right? Yeah, you only maybe like several events that critically change it, how the Ethereum works, not some simple heaps that add some new features and fix some stuff, but some critical upgrades that change the network as a whole, like proof of stake implementation, like blobs implementation, like EAP 1559 implementation. So yeah, the job is hard coded for a long period of time until the consensus will decide to change the properties of this job. The job has a special nature, which comes down to proposing and testing new blocks. And consumer is largely specified because even people who never use blockchain like Ethereum, they can get some results from working with it, for example, processing the data or making some calculations based on the on-chain data and stuff. So they even aren't required to use the MetaMask or other wallet and interact with the chain directly for that. So this is why I decided to put this well captured mechanism aside. And yeah, and of course the implementation of this mechanism in practice significantly differs from any work token I know. So because all this consensus types and stuff, and it's much more complicated than just checking out that the work is done and slashing the tokens, right? So here we also have future cash flow, risk exposure, and conditional action. And if you dig into the evaluation of, for example, consensus tokens, you could calculate it, estimated future cash flow, risk exposure, the chance of slashing, the amount of resources that are required for node running, and also which is also important that the future cash flow in consensus tokens, the structure of future cash flow can be different from the work tokens because there is not only some fees payment, but also some MIV and other indirect possibilities to extract more and more value from the consensus tokens if you are running a lot of validators, for example. So the next one, which is quite important and is widely used as a discount token. So it basically has only two pieces: it's conditional action and the future cash flow. So and accounting the discount as a future cash flow, we can decompose this token model to a simple one. So for example, for discount tokens, the more you're using protocol, then more goods and services in protocol you're buying. For example, in tokens of exchanges like BNB or Gate or some other centralized exchange tokens, the main goods and services that you can buy is just trading on the tax and paying the fees, the swap fees there. So, and if you can save on swap fees, you can account as your cash flow and even make a valuation for a token based on amount of your trading volumes and how many tokens you spent and how many, for example, USDT or Bitcoin or what is the trading pair you saved on these trading fees, and just value it as a discounted cash flow based token. So, and the conditional action directly impacts the amount of future cash flow that you can get from this. And yeah, also I want to mention that there was a quite good paper on discount tokens coming from Michael Zagham and other co-authors. I will share the link afterwards. If you are interested in discount tokens, nature, and the varieties of possible designs of discount tokens, it's definitely worth to read this paper and dig into, because it was quite early work, but I think it was very impactful, at least for me. So, sorry. Okay. The next one that I think is important to discuss is what it is called governance or VT economics, as it is discussed on websites and forums and Twitter. So, and why it is important because from the creation to current days, a lot of projects adopted the tokenomics. So, and I think that if some token design or particular implementation of token design is adopted by a lot of independent projects and all works well, I think it's one of the best proofs that means that this token model is at least interested for the market, right, and provides some value, and yeah, it's successful. There are a lot of critics on wheat economics and different varieties of implementations for it, but the principles still remain the same. So let's discuss the principles and how it works from the economic point of view and from the origins of value point of view. So this token model, it contains 4 origins of value, as you can see: initial action, risk exposure, governance, and future cash flow. But let's discuss the task definition first, for what kind of systems it is built and what functions serves, and what goals should be achieved by implementation of such value capturing mechanism in the system. So the main idea of wheat economics is to establish a governance framework across distribution of rewards or treasury holdings to different sub-services of the network. For example, for a DEX, the Curve was the first project where this token model was implemented, and the sub-services of Curve were essentially the pools. So Curve is a stablecoin DEX, and it contains a lot of pools, right? For example, USDT, USDC, and DAI pool, USDT, and some third tier 2 or tier 3 stablecoin pool. And if you will go to Curve, there are maybe hundreds of pools. So, and the question is how to establish a governance framework to distribute token incentives in an efficient way to all these pools, with a goal to maximize fee generated by the DEX. So the fees on DEXs, they're charged from the trading volumes, right? If someone trades on the DEX, the user pays some fee to the DEX, to the liquidity providers, and in particular design, for example, of Curve, a share of this fee goes to the token holders. But anyway, the goal was to maximize captured fee by the DEX. So to maximize captured fee, the DEX should attract more and more traders, right? To get more trading volumes, and as a result, some fee will be charged from these trading volumes. But to attract trading volumes, the DEX should have some liquidity, because if the IMM-based DEX is illiquid, nobody will trade them there because the slippage will be too big. So it means that to get traders, you need to get liquidity first, right? And to get liquidity, the only way that is known well to get some liquidity is to provide some rewards. Of course, when Curve has been designing this token model, they were pioneering the rewards. It was mid 2020. So before Curve, only synthetics and few projects provided some token rewards to the liquidity providers. So it was quite a novel approach and made it from scratch that days. So, and the idea was, okay, if you want to attract a lot of liquidity providers, we need to provide some token incentives for particular pools. But how to select pools to which provide these token incentives, right? There are a lot of pools, and nobody knows which pool is successful pool and which pool just farm rewards and wouldn't attract any significant trading volumes. So of course, the logic says that you need to provide more rewards to some big assets to attract more liquidity providers, have these assets and build these pools. But what about the new stable coins, emerging communities and stuff? We never know. So how to solve this question? And the question essentially comes down to how to distribute some limited amount of rewards every week to N pools from M pools, right? You have a lot of pools, but you need to select some, some limited number of pools and distribute some considerable amounts to them, get more liquidity providers, get more trading volumes as a result, and capture some fees as a result of all these actions. So, and they decided to delegate this to the decentralized governance. So, and the idea was, okay, you need to vote for particular pools, and based on this, the allocation points will be set, and the tokens will be distributed to these pools according to these allocation points. But of course, if we will think about like real money distribution, it's evident that someone can borrow tokens on lending markets and vote for pool with his own stablecoin to get a lot of rewards, and after that return the token back to lending market. So basically, the governance hacking in like some kind of governance hacking, where someone would buy a lot of tokens, make some decisions, and after that sell these tokens. So a lot of possible attacks on governance arise when the governance becomes really valuable. So, and they introduced an idea to just bond voting power with the duration of the token lock. And the longer is the token lock for a particular holder, the more long-term vision should this holder have, right? Because if you make some bad decisions, the token value will go down because DEX wouldn't generate any fees, wouldn't be interested to anyone, etc. So, and for the short-term holders who lock tokens for a short period of time, the voting power should be less, of course, because they have less long-term alignment with the protocol. So, and finally, it was decided in a way that to participate in governance, token holder needs to lock some amount of tokens and starting to be exposed to the risk. What risk carries, you will ask? It's easy. So if you lock your tokens for 2, 3, 4 years, it means that you carry the risk that the protocol will be fully eliminated by the competitors or be hacked, or anything can go wrong on the horizon of 4 years. And at the same time, you wouldn't be able to unstake your tokens and sell them to the market. So your position will be illiquid for all this time. And yeah, so you just say, okay, I'm willing to lock my tokens for a long time and carry all the risks associated with that, but at the same time, I'll get a lot of voting power and will actively participate in influencing the outcomes of the governance votings. So to get the governance value, you need to vote. So the conditional action original value comes in play. So it's not so painful to vote once per week, but anyway, it takes some time. Of course, some kind of delegation and stuff can be built on top of that, but we are talking about the original system, not about the third-party protocols built on top of it. And to close the feedback loop of voting, impact on liquidity, impact on trading volumes, impact on trading fees, the authors of the V tokenomics, they provided a share of protocol fees to the token holders who lock their tokens proportionate to their token lock duration. So it means that if you locked your tokens for a long time, you're not only getting the huge voting power, but you're also getting a significant share of protocol fees. So, and now the idea works in a way that token holders vote for some pools. If they voted for a good and really important and significant pools in DeFi that will attract trading volumes, if they will get enough liquidity for that, so the token incentives are allocated, the liquidity comes to these pools, and if traders start starting to use these pools, a lot of fees are generated, and token holders who lock their tokens receive a cash flow in form of a protocol fee. And the better is decision making, the bigger a protocol fees generated, and bigger is the share in absolute terms of the token holder who lock tokens. So it's quite simple feedback loop. So the quality of governance decisions reflects in the cash flow for a token holder. That's easy. However, the importance of governance, since the curve was and possibly is so far one of the most important DeFi projects in stablecoin space, since it contains a lot of liquidity and a lot of trades and stablecoin swaps are settled through curve. A lot of projects were fighting for this token rewards allocations, and essentially the governance also got some monetary representation. So some projects started to bribe governance participants with their tokens or stablecoins or other assets to get more allocation points on their pair, to get more liquidity for their stablecoins. So, and it results in the fact that the governance itself, separately from the protocol fee sharing, also provided monetary value to the token holders, token lockers, because if you just own a Curve token on your wallet and you didn't lock it to the water scroll contract, you will never get any governance rights or any future cash flows, anything, right? So the only way to use token is to lock it for some duration of time in the contract. and receive the governance rights and the future cash flow based on that. So finally, the V economics provides two types of cash flow. One comes from the protocol fees sharing, and one type comes from the governance. And the part that comes from governance on the high stages of the market could be quite significant and outperform significantly the future cash flow from the protocol fees. And it leads token holders to make sometimes weird decisions and vote for some second tier or third tier pools that are really not so important for Curve, but at the same time provide huge bribes in their own native tokens. And on the high stages of the market, token valuations are quite big. So it means that in US dollars denomination, these bribes could be quite substantial. And this is why the governance sometimes is taken by these bribe flows. So, and as an extension to what is called governance, the meta governance protocol built on top, like convex finance, that aggregates voted escrowed Curve tokens on the contract and provides voting rights to holders of another token of convex token. But of course, all of this is third-party protocols. But what I want to mention that the whole ecosystem was created around the voted escrowed governance, value capturing mechanism, and a lot of projects adopted it. For example, the balancer, it also adopted the slightly modified version of Curve model, which was the difference was mainly in the asset that was locked. It was not the balancer token itself, like in Curve's case, but VBAL, which was essentially an LP token that represents the share in the pair 80-20 for balancer and Ethereum. So mainly it was like a LP token for balancer pair, and the more users lock VBAL into the what is escrowed contract of balancer, the bigger liquidity is for the balancer secondary market, which is quite important. So, and the duration of lock for balancer is only 1 year and not 4 years as a Curve example. But yeah, I think maybe 30 or 40 projects are using what is called governance at this time, and a lot of projects are built on top of it, extending this model to the meta governance, to yield aggregation and other stuff. So if you are
Vasily,
if you
I'm
have,
not.
yeah.
I just wanted to say I'm not sure if we have a moment to just see if we might have any questions so far.
Yeah, please,
because
because
it's super rich topic. So this is your chance, guys. If you have a question, switch on your mic and feel free to ask away. Okay, Tiago dropped a message to the chat. I read it. Does a token having free governance, OOV implies having 8 conditional action OOV as well? So is this always associated, 3 and 8?
Yes.
Or any
from my
exceptions?
point of view, no, if you know the governance token that you can use without really voting even single time, could be, but I never. So if you want to get value from the governance, you need to vote. If you need to vote, you need to do action to choose something, right? To make decision and stuff. Even if you delegate this to other people using the delegation mechanism, it means that someone using your token does it for you. So anyway, somebody votes for you on your behalf, like like you can provide power of attorney for selling a house, but anyway, it is your house, right? That is sold. So from my point of view, it's the same. If somebody created some like service or primitive to like decrease your involvement in something, it doesn't mean that it doesn't need it at all.
So Tiago concludes that's why there isn't any trivial value capturing mechanism for governance, right? So you say,
yes.
Okay, we always have this combination. Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Arash, you have a question. Feel free to switch on your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Vasily.
Hello.
Sumanov. I have a question. What you have done as a combination of all of these utilities or functions or OOV is very phenomenal. And I'm going to come back a moment, but there is a thing. From the all-time high of all the altcoins, about 1 year ago, we had a bear market. from the all-time high, they have cut down from about 99% from the price perspective. So what we are talking about really is about
This meeting is being recorded.
Very intense, and from last 5 years when 9.99999 I'm sorry, a bit stressed. 99.99% of the project had failed. Now it's 99%. It's very
Yep.
good things, but what we are talking about, all the utilities, all the combination, is about bull market, I guess.
It's about what?
So-
Sorry.
It's about bull market, I guess.
Not. It's not true. So you saw a lot of projects that died, and I've been on the market maybe how long? 3 cycles, and I saw a lot of dead projects. But first of all, the majority of dead projects, a lot of them doesn't have any value capturing. It doesn't have anything, right? To be honest, a lot of projects, this is just a website and CoinMarketCap page and some Twitter stuff and maybe some forked code. This is the first of all. So a lot of projects doesn't have real coordination, doesn't have real community, doesn't have real value creation process inside. If you launch a fork of Bitcoin and that proof of work coin, or you launch a fork of Ethereum that nobody uses and it's just a fork to make a token and pump it, why do you
Exactly,
expect that there will be some real value capturing? If you will see the bear market and you will go, for example, to do analytic dashboards, you will see that curve generated fees, that corner generated fees. With a lot of different projects, they generated fees, they generated bribes. Of course, the amounts were lower than on the top of the bull market, but it's if you will see the amount of liquidity on the access, if you will see amount of trading volumes, you will see that they also decreased it a lot. And this is normal for the bear markets, that amount of trading volumes is much lower than amount of trading volumes on the bull markets, and the fees are lower and the governance impact is much less. And yeah, so
it's a problem of utility.
no,
You
it's
do not
it's
have
not a
any utility.
No, it's not a problem of utility. You mean why the projects encrypted die?
Yeah.
There are a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons. Some projects have been abandoned by the founding team. Some projects are really not a real projects, but just pump and dump asset that we created to the cash grab. Some projects are not relevant anymore. A lot of like layer ones are not relevant anymore. Even such big ones like Polkadot. And do you remember the EOS, for example? Okay, Polkadot is still alive, but EOS, somebody's really building on EOS and using it now. People using rollups now, and Ethereum and some other ecosystems. So,
Yeah.
when the
I have
network is
similar-
used so widely, the utility is bigger. So your token utility depends on the coordination value, right? If 10 millions of people using some network or 1 million of people using the network is a big difference in utility. Of course, we need to also discuss the amount of liquidity, amount of transactions they do and stuff. But so I just want to say that the token utility depends on all agents involved in the system. If nobody will trade on Curve, the utility of Curve token will be essentially zero, right? Because nobody will be interested to influence governance decisions. There will be no fee income, and it will be like a meme token, right? That has only some hedonic value because it's a known project and somebody trades it, but it will be pure speculative value without any fundamental part there.
And I have another question, sir. Can we give them weight? All of this combination. Can we give them weight for different fields? For example, AI different weight, and layer 2's different weight. Can we do that?
So what do you mean give different weights? I thought that your question is devoted to, for example, compare the governance part and future cash flow part, which is taken from the protocol fees for example, V tokenomics, right? You can get an on-chain data and essentially calculate the contribution of, for example, the bribes and the protocol fee into the total fee income for a token holder, for example. You can do it and you can see the shares. And for example, we can do these circles in different size, right? For example, the governance provides a lot of value and condition action is very small because voting once per week is 1 minute. Okay, it's very small. It doesn't require a lot of expenses. and the future cash flow is moderate, for example. So of course, all of these origins of value inside value capturing mechanisms, they can be like weighted by the importance and some particular metrics which are applied to them, of course.
Thank you.
Vasily, I have a question as well,
Yes,
just checking the chat first. So generally looking at the 3 examples you just showed, I just want to verify my understanding. You always come up with a new, let's say, type. So if we say vote escrowed governance is a new type of VCM, and this is classifying in retrospective, right? So once such a pattern emerges, you see how you can integrate it in this classification. It's not that vice versa, you at this point, I mean, you can use it also for designing and inspiration, like, okay, what VCMs can we come up with, combining the different types of VCM in a new way. But generally what you do today, or with these examples, is you take a look if some patterns have been emerging, what combinations of VCMs they use, and then you see if there's already a name or you give it a name, right? This is what you have been doing with these 3 examples. Yeah.
About this, yes. So about the naming, there will be a special slide about the naming.
I see.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. So the classification framework works in both ways. So you can decompose existing token models into the VCMs or origins of value subsequently, or you can create new value capturing mechanisms. Of course, creating new ones is much more complicated than decomposing existing ones. As anything, right? Creating something new is much complicated than understanding the past. Yes.
Yeah.
But
and even then, I think this refers to the question beforehand. I mean, just the fact that there is some value capturing mechanism doesn't say anything about this is success. This is something that is successful, right? And this is something that actually in reality captures value, because if there's no user, if there's no product market fit, then there's just no value capture. So just the fact that there are mechanisms, and this applies to token engineering in general, just the fact that there are mechanisms doesn't guarantee that the value of a network grows if there are no users.
Of course, because the first point, like layer 0 for my understanding of value capturing is that all the value in the system is created by coordination of agents. If you have no agents or you have very few ones, this coordinational value will be very small, right? If you have like 5 people using the, I don't know, some file sharing network, or you have 1 million people, right? It's according to Metcalfe's rule, it's a tremendous, it's super big difference in value of the network. Of course, yes. So you can create, there are a lot of dead projects with V economics, a lot. You can use the DeFi wars.xyz to see them all. A lot of projects, they forked V economics, but it doesn't guarantee any success for them. They cannot involve users, they cannot involve the liquidity providers. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, let's proceed. So yeah, we have, so to navigate in the space of value capturing mechanism, we have a table, and now we will dig into this table and describe how it appeared and why there are such names also. So it's also is covered. So yeah, how to use this table. So we have a columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? These columns. So I introduced the idea that every value capturing mechanism has a like dominative origins of value, or like a most important origin of value that provides real value. Because, for example, in some like mechanisms like protocol fees PF238, of course, like in the majority of cases, the protocol fees are providing more value than governance. In the majority of cases, sometimes there are exceptions for that. Or, for example, in like hedonic value, even if you have collections with some royalties sharing, or you have collections with governance, the hedonic value of NFT and the value of the community behind this NFT and all this coordination value of meme behind is much more important than this governance feature. So the governance is the second, and the hedonic value is the first. So, and it's important to understand what comes after what. So this is why made it by the columns, which like dominant original value. So we have value transfer, only one mechanism so far. There are no more mechanisms that I know that have a value transfer as dominant original value. For example, the meme tokens. Of course, the meme and all this, community behind the meme and all this, I don't know, sometimes of course it's a pump and dump and market manipulation stuff is much around this meme is much more important than the actual value transfer function, right? I doubt that users are really using like cat coins for transfer value in the network, right? I doubt it. It's not a primary function of all of it. So yeah, we have these columns by the dominant original value, and we have rows, and rows are based on the number of origins value inside the mechanism. So on the row 1, we have only 1, so it's like a trivial mechanism here. On the second, we have only 2. On the third, we have 3. So if we will have, for example, one more on the future cash flow, we will shift it on the right and add this one more square here, right? With the 4, we have only the water scroll governance so far. Also have a meta level. Meta level is when there is some token model and a value capturing mechanism that has several identical origins of value coming from different ecosystems or projects. For example, for the meta governance, you would know the convex token that has a governance rights in Curve ecosystem, in Frax ecosystem, in Prisma ecosystem, and governing all these 3 V tokenomics at the same time using only one token. So yeah, let's go here because it's a little bit more zoomed, the parts. So the rows indicate a number, as I said before. The X means that value capturing mechanism doesn't exist at all, from my point of view. Of course, it's just my opinion. Maybe you will prove that it's different, and I will be happy to get your contribution to this table and change it and make a reference that you contributed and provided some early relevant information there. So N is that there is no examples. For example, for the governance tokens that have 2 other origins of value inside the mechanism. And I want to say that there are clear rules from my point of view how to distinguish the origins of value inside one mechanism or the several different mechanisms. It depends, do these origins of value are connected or not between each other in the in the value capturing process or not. It's important. So for example, for the governance with 2 other origins of value, I don't know such examples, maybe you know. And the naming comes from what? There are 3 different options from the first letters of the name, from the original definition, or from the first notable implementation. Here are 3 examples. So discount token is a DT, SM is a safety model from Aave, or I called it bullet insurance, but the SM is the name of this element in the table. So the safety model is from my point of view, was a first implementation of interesting concept where you have a future cash flow, you have a risk exposure, but you don't have any kind of conditional action at the same time. So the safety model works in a way that you can deposit token to a special contract. All funds, all the tokens, all other tokens in this contract, they are used for covering some losses in the lending market in case of some Oracle failure or the hack, which result in bad debt. So the main pain for the lending market is when somebody didn't return a debt and there is a bad debt issue and somebody need to pay for it, because if nobody will pay, the lenders will be in losses, and after that nobody will use the lending market. So they introduced the safety model feature to provide like an insurance, bullet insurance concept that, okay guys, you can deposit your Aave tokens to the lending market, you can get some interest rate on them, like some rewards for your risks. But if protocol will be hacked or there will be some bad debt in case of some Oracle failure or other reason, the part of these tokens could be used for the covering this bad debt for the users. So yeah, this was the first implementation. Or the third one, the original definition is a V economics. It was originally named by Curve creators that it is V economics, so I decided to use it in this way. So let's dig a little bit into the table just to see some of the mechanisms and discuss them. So for that, of course we could discuss the whole table, but it is quite long, so I just took some interesting examples from future cash flow, because These make it some most widely used. Some representation hedonic value because it's also interesting because all the excess mechanisms are less abundant. So, and the meta level is also important. So yeah, dividends is when you get cash flow without any kind of work or any other action. The discount token when your cash flow depends on the amount of protocol usage with the discount. Bullet insurance is when you receive some cash flow and you have some risk that you never have some conditional actions that you need to do. You just need to deposit and that's it. And you can infinitely stay in the pool. So the protocol fees is when you have a cash flow and you have governance that optimizes the protocol fees, because any kind of governance is introduced to optimize some kind of metric in the system, right? So every vote is created to get some goal, and the goal for the protocol is to improve the protocol metrics, get more users, get more nodes, get more liquidity, get more fees captured, or something like that. So the work token is when you receive cash flow, doing some job and having a risk deposit or risk applied to your token stake. Consensus token is a looks similar to work token but has a different economic nature. So for the representation, you have pure representation like for the stable coins. And as before on the stable coins, doesn't get any value transfer, value capture, they getting all the value from representing, for example, US dollar or euro or other fiat currency. You have an active management portfolio, which is a representation of some portfolio and the future cash flow associated with this portfolio, and the liquidity position in an MM is this. But if you will get any kind of other active managed portfolio, some index funds or anything else where your assets are delegated and they can be positive or negative cash flow, it will be the same value capture mechanism. You have a tokenized real world assets that have a representation future cash flow, because the majority of tokenized real world assets are created on chain to deliver some cash flow on chain, because yeah, this is the main idea of real estate, of tokenized real estate, treasury bonds and stuff. But you always need to have a conditional action to get these cash flows, because I think it cannot buy anonymously the real estate or regulated securities or stuff. So the 8 is referred mainly to some action that you need to do as a user to get these cash flows to unlock all this value to you. So the pure hedonic value, we have hedonic dividends. It's when some asset has hedonic value like NFT collection, but also it has some cash flows. Mainly it's based by protocol, by the protocol fees, or it's the royalties of NFT collection that is distributed to token holders. So we also have a meme tokens, which is quite widely used example of the hedonic value and value transfer, where the hedonic value is much more important than value transfer function. We have taken as a digital art of where the hedonic value is on the first place of importance. Second is some future cash flow, for example, from some songs. There are some startups that tokenize some, songs of known, DJs and artists and stuff, and provide you some cash flows. But at the same time, all these tokenized shares of songs are represented by the real song, some intellectual property of the physical or some digital song, right? Also, you have some governance based on some NFTs, where you have an NFT, but you also can vote on the future direction of the community. On the meta level, we have some interesting examples of meta value transfer. There were no examples, but now projects introduced ones. For example, the particle network aims to provide a gas token for all the networks connected to the particle network. So you will be able to pay gas in any network like Ethereum, BNB, or maybe some rollups using their own token. And so basically they just trade their own token for the gas. So you pay their own token, and of course they pay for your gas in Ethereum, but for you as a user, this essentially comes down to using only one token. And since you can use the particle token in Ethereum, BNB, Polygon, and other chains, for the user perspective, it's a meta value transfer token, right? So meta dividends is mainly some baskets of assets with some cash flows. Meta governance is before like Convex, Our Finance, and other ones. Meta access has no examples. Meta representations also some baskets of stable coins, and now staked Ethereum tokens and liquid or staked tokens. And this will be a big narrative. So meta representation will have a lot of impact in this Agile era. So therefore, meta hedonic value, there are some index for blue chips NFTs, I think, the main ones. Yeah. So, but now let's go to the really tough and complicated stuff after all these beautiful pictures. Now we are going to something that will require more, thinking data. So the new token creation, how to create a new token. Of course, everybody here, especially Angela, understands that it's not possible to provide an instruction how to create a new token in several points. Of course, it's the question is much more broad, and the whole community works on it for years. But I try to combine it to the simple one-pager based on the idea for this value and value capturing mechanism. So yeah, how we need to work if there is a new project and you want to introduce a token. So what I will do if I will do this, and I'm doing it sometimes. So first of all, define a system that you plan to apply token to the system. So agents, value identification flows, and case system metrics. And case system metrics is very important because you need to understand for what purpose you're doing it, right? For example, if you are making some consensus, you want to get more nodes, you want to get more token staked, you want to get more economic security, right? And you want to get clear rules how all of this works. So the metrics are not less important than agents and value and information flows, because it allows easy crystallization of goal of all of this. So yeah, you need to recognize the system goals and issues and define the metrics that should be maximized and what issues should be avoided. So any kind of token system, it contains two main pieces. I mean, for the system itself, right? What you want to achieve and what you want to avoid, right? You want to avoid hacks, attacks, and some malicious behavior, some other stuff that will destroy the system. But at the same time, you want to achieve the growth of users, growth of nodes, growth of the capacity of the network, something else. So when you recognize that what you want and what you don't want, you need to determine what should be correct agent's behavior and what should be incorrect agent behavior. So first of all, you understand what you want and what you don't want in the system, and second, you understand what you need to do to get what you want and what you don't need to do to don't get what you don't want. So this is the main idea here. It's very simple. So at the fourth point, you need to determine a way of agent coordination. So to incentivize correct behavior and disincentivize incorrect behavior. Of course, sometimes this disincentivization is already like included in the basic principles. For example, if you're talking about the simple governance, I mean simple governance like compound, right? One token, one vote. No, you even don't need to stake your token in some contract. So, and you vote with this one token, and the core idea behind the simple governance is that if the decision that was made leads to the system drive, it makes the system better, the system works better, and the amount of limited resources and stuff that could be governed in the system will grow, and the fundamental value of the governance in the system will grow, and therefore the fundamental value of the governance token will grow. And in opposite, if the bad decisions are made and the system is declining in metrics, nobody want to use it, people leaving, users leaving, liquidity decreases. It means that the amount of limited resources to govern decreases, significance of the project in the market decreases, and the fundamental value of the governance token also decreases. And finally, the market value of the governance token decreases, and you as a token holder, you getting punished for this kind of bad decisions there. So this also could work this way, but for example, in Curve case, we see that they are making several steps further in understanding what should be done to make this governance more efficient and more long-term oriented. So the token locks were done specifically to avoid incorrect behavior of agents. As I said before, they can borrow a lot of tokens and vote for their pools, or they can buy tokens, vote for some bad option and sell the tokens. So they make this design a little bit more complex and a little bit more resilient to such kind of behavior. So anyway, you need to think how to incentivize correct behavior and disincentivize bad behavior. So propose the mechanics of agent coordination. The mechanics is essentially what to do and what will be different outcomes. For example, I said before, the V tokenomics is the mechanics of agent coordination. The proof of stake in Ethereum is mechanics of agent coordination. You stake token, you do this. If you do something that you don't need to do, you will be slashed by other agents that also stake tokens. That's it, right? So it's easy. So at the same time, in case of Ethereum, for example, you need to have a mechanics of agents coordination around the fees of around the transaction fees, right? Because if somebody will, so you need to have a like transparent resource market, like a block space market, how the transactions are priced, how to select transactions from the mempool and stuff. And yeah, you also need to do this because if there wouldn't be clear rules for that, the market can be strange and it will be not usable. Nobody can predict the gas fees, and it wouldn't be not efficient to use. Yeah, so after this, you need to recognize origins of value. See, okay, you have, for example, future cash flow, you have governance, you have conditional action. You need to group them to understand what depends on what. Does do the governance depend on conditional action or not? Of course, yes. Or do cash flow depend on governance or no? Sometimes yes, sometimes maybe there can be examples where it is not so clear. So you need to see what depends on what and introduce the value capture mechanism. Mainly you can find them in the table. So in the majority of cases, I think what you will create will be coming down to some like existing ones. After that, when you understand, okay, we have this system, we have these goals, agents, goals, issues, desired behavior, not desired behavior, how it should work, and what will be the origins of value and what will be the mechanism. You need to find the implementation patterns, because in the majority of cases, implementation patterns, they were done before you started to build the project, right? So then this is a big market, a lot of project launched, a lot of code released, a lot of code works for years without hacking, and this is good. So you can find the value capture implementation patterns for your value capture mechanism and similar systems and see, does it fit for your particular system or not? Maybe you can change some few things there and adapt it, because the Web3 composability is the key of exponential growth. You don't need to invent everything. This is the main point. And when you decided how this value capture implementation pattern works, you need to select operational parameters, right? For example, the minimal or some minimal stake for a work token or for the consensus, or the governance framework. So how the governance should work, what should be the quorum, what should be the minimal number of tokens for creating a proposal and stuff. So all these parameters, you need to do simulation according to your to your metrics and your goals, how it should properly work. And for example, if the quorum is set for some desired number of tokens, you need to understand how complicated it is to get this quorum done. So, or how complicated it is to play this quorum if there is low participation. Is it possible to buy this amount of tokens by one malicious actor and just vote and be the single voter there, for example, together with few voters and get the outcome done with this small amount? So yeah. So the simulation is only at the 8th point in my understanding. So we can discuss this. We can go further. Of course, it's a very rich topic.
Sorry, yeah. Anyone having any questions at this point? Drop it to the chat or just switch on your mic. Meanwhile, I have a question. If we go back to some of the examples, like the V token, I have a question regarding the value capturing implementation pattern. So generally, with classifying the vote escrowed governance, this does not necessarily say anything about they all are implemented in the exact same way, right? Because the smart contracts might look different in different, right? It's rather, if you say, okay, research on the implementation patterns, it can help you find good and bad implementations, and you can work on top of what's already existing.
Yes, I can share the example on voted escrowed governance. The main parameter that is changed by projects is how the duration of lock affects your voting power. Somebody makes it linear, somebody makes it as a square root, somebody makes some other mathematical function. So it depends.
Yeah.
Okay, if you lock your tokens for 1 year or for 4 years, what will be the difference in voting power? Will it be 4 times or not? right? And it's the example of parameter that you can change, and which is really changed by projects.
Okay. Good. Makes sense.
Yeah, this was the like one of the points why I decided to make the implementation patterns as like a separate level in classification, because it's important to understand the economic roots and the classification as so that the implementations can differ. So, but it's not the. So, how much time do we have? Do we have? Time for-
We have 15 minutes left.
Okay, so let's go for the analysis, and after that, I have some value capturing implementation patterns examples as a last slide. So for the token analysis, essentially, some of students already did one. It was very simple, but anyway, it was already done. So you learn about the project. It's evident. You check out theoretically and practically how token works. And I can say if you use something practically, it's much more insightful, because reading on the website and participating in the votings and this voted this growth stuff or anything else, or like delegating your tokens for some node and seeing how much cash flow you're really receiving and other subslashing events or not. So it's quite important to make some practical exploration. If you're really digging deep into the project or you want to fork something, you definitely need to use. So you need also to check conditions for activating token functions. And this will be your insights for negative or ISO value there. So do you need to stake your tokens? And if you stake, do you need to lock it? And if you lock it, why you need to lock it? You need to understand why. Sometimes, of course, they do it just for locking. You don't have any real risks there or no real necessity. They just do it to avoid, unstaking and token dump. Of course, there are a lot of projects that do it just to, lock the supply, of course. So after that, you need to identify orders of value, understand how orders will depend on each other, find appropriate value capturing mechanisms. So you have a list of orders of value, and after that, you try to understand how they depend on each other. If they depend, it's a way, and you can find such mechanism. Okay, you can just see this mechanism and check out the implementation. So you can just read the documentation how these value capture mechanisms are implemented. If there's a governance with some features, protocol fee distribution, or civic economics, or it is work token, you can see is this a fork of something with some changes, or it is fully original implementation. For every mechanism, you can see some variables. For example, for work token, it's the basic variables is how the workers are chosen, what are the slashing conditions, what are the minimal stake, how the stake size depends on the pricing of the job, for example. So for every value capturing mechanism, we can identify some variables to study the main ones. And yeah, after that, we need to dig into on-chain data and understand the value contribution. For example, sometimes the token has governance function and some protocol fee sharing, but there is really no governance and all the value comes from the protocol fee sharing. Or it can be in opposite way, like for curve and some like bull market conditions when the bribes go on like 95% of all value that a token holder could derive, and the protocol fee doesn't matter at all. So the on-chain analytics comes at the end, and like we are lucky that we have a special sessions in token engineering devoted to doing analytics. So this topic is already covered by someone who is really professional in this. Yeah, so let's go to the value capturing implementation patterns, some examples that I had in the plan. So at the left is Ethereum, and the right is Gnosis chain. So what is the difference? Ethereum introduced the original value capturing implementation pattern for the consensus token. I think everybody knows that Ethereum created a really brand new proof of stake because it really works on scale and securing hundreds of billions of dollars on Ethereum. But at the same time, Ethereum also has a value transfer function. It's also important because when you're paying for gas in Ethereum, you're using the value transfer function. And at the same time, we can see the Gnosis chain that adopted Ethereum proof of stake value capturing implementation pattern for the consensus token for the Gnosis token. But at the same time, the value transfer is done by another token XDAI. So you can see that how the code implementations are used even in different chains, but with some changes. So XDAI is a native token for pricing the block space in Gnosis chain. And the GNO token is a token for staking in nodes, for staking in consensus, receiving the rewards from the consensus and stuff. So this is an example, and this is all. I think it's totally identical. At least in Purple, we are doing a lot of stuff in Ethereum and Gnosis chain, and everything works the same. Totally the same, including all some consensus variables and stuff. So it's precisely the same, almost. So, and for example, for Optimism, we have a original governance framework. I added it here because it's really something new. It's not just a governance based on the token. They have a dual governance with Citizens House, Token House based on soulbound NFTs and the OP token. So OP token doesn't cover the whole governance there. And at the same time, they have some staking into the validators. For the Uniswap, they had only on-chain governance, which was using a compound code. So this is one of the biggest example of when one big protocol using the value capturing implementation pattern of another protocol with minimal changes, but also they can add the protocol sharing fee, and yeah, there will be new value capturing implementation pattern. Possibly they will deliver their own one, how these fees are collected and distributed, or possibly they can use some existing ones from other DEXs that are already doing the protocol fee sharing, like XSushi. I doubt that they will use XSushi, but I just mentioned it as an example. So this is
Vasily,
yes, yeah.
Quick question raised from Tiago. This was, maybe we can go back for a second to the stable coins example. This was that value transfer can't be an OOV for stable coins.
Exactly, yes. So I will describe it one more time. So in Gnosis chain, GNO token is a token that has a consensus value capturing mechanism and Ethereum proof of stake implementation used, right? And the token that is used for transferring value from users to validators is XDAI. So GNO doesn't have any value transfer function. But at the same time, XDAI also doesn't have the value transfer function because the value of XDAI is pegged to US dollar through the MakerDAO CDP mechanism, right? I just mentioned that the processes that require value transfer are handled by XDAI, but it doesn't mean that XDAI gains a lot of value from being involved into these payments for the block space and Gnosis chain. So I just I just want to say this methodologically,
Yeah, so the value transfer here is not related to the OOV.
It's just a function because Gnosis chain needs some token that will be used for paying for the block space. And they decided to use the XDAI, and this was just a historical decision because it was like before the Gnosis chain acquisition, this chain used XDAI, and they decided not to change anything. And possibly they're using stablecoin for a block space pricing is a good for prediction how much you will pay for the gas, and it's easy for users that you can use the like simple stable coin. You don't need to acquire the GNO token, which is not so widespread as DAI, because DAI, everybody knows DAI. So possibly this is a user experience focused decision. So, and the last example in this presentation is a BNB, and this is a really complicated token that contains a lot of stuff, and I just decided to put it on the end. So before this presentation, it was a little bit simpler, but I decided to add one more. So let's dig into it as our final accord for the presentation. So what types of origins of value does BNB have? So BNB is a complex ecosystem, and BNB token has like a multi-purpose nature. It is used in different products. So it is important that so many origins of value and value capturing mechanisms arising from the fact that BNB token is used in entirely different products that are sometimes even not connected directly to each one. So, for example, BNB has a value transfer function because it is used for buying block space in Binance Smart Chain network. Everybody knows that, right? Second, and this is value transfer, value capture mechanism. At the same time, the BNB token is taken into the validators on the BNB chain. That, of course, it's rather centralized chain. There are not so many validators as in Ethereum, and there is a delegation option, but formally it's a consensus token, so you can deposit it to the validator through the delegation mechanism and earn the share of income there. So, and there also is theoretically a possibility to be slashed at the same time. So and you need to run a node, which is quite big node and expensive node. So yeah, you definitely have conditional action there. At the same time, it is used as a discount token on the Binance centralized exchange, and you can save real fees on token trading. And this was the first use case of BB when a long time ago in 2017 when Binance exchange was just great. And at the fourth, we have access. So there is also Binance Launchpad, and if you have some amount of BNB tokens and you hold them for some amount of days, you get an access to the Launchpad. You can buy some tokens of projects that often, in the majority of cases, they grow in value. But at the same time, by just holding tokens on the exchange, if you don't, buying the allocations, you will never get these tokens, and you will never, get any kind of possible profits from these tokens or any token stake. So this is an access. Access value capture mechanism works in a way that you have an access, but to get some value from the fact of this access, you need to do something else. For example, buy a token or participate in the community to which you get access or something like that. So yeah, we have 5 origins of value which are combined in 4 value capture mechanisms. So we have a consensus composed of future cash flow, risk exposure, conditional action. We have a discount token composed of conditional action and future cash flow. And you need to know that future cash flow, the conditional action, and consensus and discount are entirely different future cash flows and entirely different conditional actions. So this graph should be like 3D graph, and I should indicate 2 future cash flows because the source of cash flow is entirely different, and 2 conditional actions because the conditional action, the nature of this conditional action, one is running a node, second is trading and getting discounts based on the amount of trades, is different, of course. It's evident, right? And the access is separate from all of them. It's a trivial value capture mechanism. So this is an example of how complex tokens can be. Yeah, so, and now I finished, so let's discuss questions or homework or anything you want. I cannot hear you.
Yeah, get ready for raising some questions if you have any at the moment. Maybe while you are typing or thinking about what's not clear yet, Vasily, let's share the plans for the homework and also for presenting case studies, because I think, just to clarify, we have 2 sessions left in this live track. One is scheduled for May 23rd. So this would be actually in 2 days from now, to then have enough time to work on your personal case study or to team up with somebody else and submit your case study by June 3rd. So the topic of next week would be picking case studies and get things going, or, okay, here we go. Maybe you walk us through the homework assignments.
Yes. But I thought that students can submit the final thesis before the June 4th, not 3rd.
That should be fine. We can double check.
Yes, but yeah. So because at June 3rd we have a last session for the questions.
Yeah, and then there's 1 day left. Yeah, you're right.
Yes. So yeah. So for this homework is like a value capture mechanism that you can pick up any value capture mechanism from the table that interests you. If you can create a new mechanism and use it for the homework, I will be super happy. Of course, if you go find one, you can also do it. So, but unfortunately, I don't know any more mechanism myself, but if you find it, would be good. So you need to find an example of live project that uses value capture mechanism and explain why this value capture mechanism is used and how it works. So mechanism and the project. So what you did on the previous homework, you took a project and identify the origins of value. So now you can do it the same, of course. So you can find a project and say that this value capture mechanism is because it interests you, of course. So it's not like mandatory to start with the mechanism. You can start with the project also. It's also important. It's also possible, but it depends on what you want. You could try to start with the mechanism, or you can start with the project. Anyway, the result will be almost the same if you will complete all of it. So you need to explain why it is used. And so if we will expand this work further, so because this was a slide for homework, not for the final thesis, it is short. But if we will discuss the final thesis, I think it is interesting to do the token analysis. So the token analysis will be as you did before, the description of particular project, identification of all origins of value, the reasons why they were created, identification of value capturing mechanisms, identification of the value capturing mechanism implementation patterns. And if you have ability to find some on-chain data, you can also make some, data analysis on it. How some metrics, how to say it in a better way. If there are some on-chain data results that you can calculate the impact of different value capturing mechanisms or origins of value to the total token value, even backed by data, if it exists. If it not exists, you can make some predictions. Or as an alternative for the thesis, you can just create a token for a new project you have, or for some project that, for example, is on the market but doesn't have a token yet. I can provide you some examples of such tokens. Now I'm talking about the final thesis, not the homework, right? So it's a little bit different. Of course, not for a coming week. So for coming week, you're picking a project, value capturing mechanism, understand why and how it's used in the system, and just making description. So we stop on the value capturing mechanism level in the homework. But if you want to go further and focus on the thesis, it's also value capturing implementation patterns, understanding where the value comes from the metrics, or creating a token for a new project. And if you want to create a token for some project, but you don't know for which project you want to create a token, I can provide a list of 10 projects which are well known, but it doesn't have their own token yet. You can try to propose something.
Okay, is this clear to everyone? Do you feel comfortable? So we would basically say step 1 and 2 is for the next session in 2 days, while step 3 is, and the implementation pattern is for June 3rd. Is this more or less correct, Vasily?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I also can propose that if you already did the homework, you can read the feedback. If you have time, we can, for example, close this live streaming, and I just can make a Zoom for answering your personal homework questions if you're still on the session, and if you want to ask them now, because I have some free time now. And you can just continue your work, because there are some good analysis that you can just proceed with the value capturing mechanism identification, and it wouldn't take a lot of time because you already started the work and you already did some important parts of it.
Does this make sense? Any questions here? So you pick your favorite token and value capturing mechanism. So you can either start with the value capturing mechanism or with the token and the project, and then you start exploring. And the goal of next session is to discuss your choice, basically, right?
Yes. The goal of the next session is to discuss what everyone did and your choice for the final thesis, answer the questions, maybe provide some ideas and help on the initial stage. Yeah.
Cool. And this would be in 2 days. And then you have still enough time to work on your final submission on June 4th. And we'll have even a sync session beforehand if you struggle, or if you'd like to share some questions or interesting findings. Okay?
Yep.
Good. Let's check. Any other questions referring to what we've seen in this session, what Vasily presented? Okay. Tiago, I read it out for you, a bit out of context, but what would you say is the difference between functions and origins of value according to your function, to your framework? Sorry.
Yeah. So, for example, the stablecoin example. So you can use the stablecoin, for example, USDT or DAI for transferring some value, like 100 DAI to other user. But at the same time, this fact that you can transfer value using DAI doesn't provide additional value to the DAI token, because it's pegged to US dollar using collateralized deposition mechanism in MakerDAO with all these liquidations, oracles, and stuff. So yeah, this is the difference between functions and origins of value. But in the majority of cases, for example, if the token has some governance function, it also has a governance origin of value, because it provides the right to manage the limited resources of some network which were created by agents coordination, right? So in the majority of cases, the function and the origins of value, they exist at the same time. The governance function, the governance original value exist at the same time. But for specific cases like value transfer, it's different. And for example, the Bitcoin, it has store of value function, as majority of people, and the Satoshi also focused on the limited supply, and that this is the deflationary asset, right? So, but the thing is that the store of value also comes from the value transfer, right? And so the Bitcoin has a function that can be used by user, defined as a store of value, but the original value is only value transfer. And store of value comes from the value transfer that gets all the cardinational value to this original value, right? Because people use Bitcoin, a lot of people are accepting it, and all this value is reflected in the Bitcoin value. And the store of value function comes out not only from the value transfer, but from the limited supply. And the limited supply is a feature of Bitcoin. But this limited supply feature is a supply side thing. It's a distributional mechanic of Bitcoin, right? That Bitcoin is distributed via mining using 4 years periods, and there is no option to generate more Bitcoins than 21 million, right? It's a distribution approach. It's not a value transfer original value. It doesn't directly connect. So this is what I want to mention. But the store of value function appears from the value transfer, original value, and the limited supply. So limited supply is the second factor of appearing the value appearing the store of value function in Bitcoin. It's just my personal opinion and my description.
Okay, so I hope this clarifies, Thiago. And there were 2 more questions. Arash, you raised your hand.
I have a kind of number things question. As a token engineer, we determine each supply factor, and we know how we are going to issue it each day, each month, and each year. For instance, we have vesting schedule for it. But how can we, even we can calculate the inflation rate for each day, for each hour, but how can we, measure our demand factors? Because it's a big thing to create a token and hope it's going to work for several years, but we cannot measure it by, our demands if we ignore speculations.
Okay, how can you measure the demand factors for traditional securities in Web2 startups, right? So it's also the question what VCs do. They take the token, they calculate the revenue, the possible cash flow, discounted cash flow on the token, and multiply the valuation. So the possible market cap, which reflects the possible demand from the market in the future based on the revenue, future cash flow, some discounted cash flows, and a multiplier based on some industry standards, subscription models, or SaaS, or B2C, or something else, right? It's like this stuff. So this is what they do in traditional markets. I mean, of course, this is a very napkin description. So in tokens, right? So for example, let's go to some particular example. So for example, for the wheat economics, right? You can think, okay, you have for example, the amount of rewards that will be distributed by governance voting every week to the pools. For example, I'm trying to tackle some well-known example that is we can at least find a good amount of on-chain data, right, for it. So you can think, okay, if there is $1 million of incentives distributed to the pools through governance voting every week, what could be the flow of bribes to the token based on this distribution, right? If bribing efficiency is 3x, it means that it will be 333,000 of bribing, income for voted scroll series token holders. At the same time, you can make a big spreadsheet like VC always do with future growth scenarios like negative, normal, and positive scenario, amount of users, amount of liquidity, amount of swaps, amount of trading volumes, amount of swap fees collected and stuff. So and you can do it based on some like other dexes or just projections. This is what consultants do, right? So you do all of these, and you can try to build a valuation based on the amount of cash flow coming from governance, the amount of cash flow coming from the protocol sharing fee, the taking into account maybe some decrement based on the risk factors that to unlock all of these cash flows, you need to lock it for a long time. So it probably will be not so interesting to some users, or it should be discounted as a risk factor. So yeah, and by applying all these metrics, you can build a valuation basically coming down to the future cash flow model as it was before. Why I picked this example? Because everything that is positive value here can be represented as cash flows. Of course, if it is some non-tangible value or hedonic value or something like that, or community value, because for example, token engineering community and token engineering commons and all these communities and researchers around, a lot of people working with like some intangible value, something that is not so pure monetary, like in Curve case. It's much more difficult. Of course, it's much more difficult, but it still has a lot of value, by the way. But it is like basically more social value than monetary value. But one of the goals of what I'm doing is to provide the evaluation methodologies for different mechanisms, like some standard methodologies, how, if you have system with this mechanism, how to build evaluation based on some successful implementation, see how it works. So this is one of the goals.
Thank you.
Thanks for this clarification. I would now suggest there are a range of questions now in the chat around the homework assignment and around the final submission and dates. So number one, please everyone, I just checked the calendar for the sessions, and you'll find all sessions in Vasily's track in the Student Information Hub, in the Study Season Information Hub. Let me just share this so you'll find it. Oops. Just open it again and let's double check together. Sorry, the many tabs. Okay, this is our calendar. It's available at the Study Season Information Hub. And this is the total calendar, all sessions. And here you'll see on 23rd. So in 2 days, we have the 3rd session with Vasily. This is Central European time, so no worries. The UTC time can be found here. If you click on Vasily's details for track 8, you'll find all the sessions here. And next session is in 2 days on Thursday, 4 p.m. UTC, where we'll discuss your choice for the case study, maybe some first origins of values or value capturing mechanisms, but this doesn't have to be final. The final submission is due on June 4th, right? So we have a final submission date, and we'll share instructions where to submit it, how to submit it, again, what you should deliver and include in your submission. And we'll publish this and let you know on Discord, and you'll find it also here in this Notion doc. So the final deadline to submit your case study is June 4th, and there's even the chance to clarify final questions with Vasily in a session on Monday, June 3rd. Okay? Victor, you seem to have a question still.
Yes, sorry.
Victor?
I think it's I'm just, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
It seems to be stuck. You can hear me. So I just want to repeat because I'm confused. So basically, what I'm reading here is the homework assignment for Thursday. That's just all the 3 points are literally the same thing, right? So step 1 and 2 is one option, and the alternative, which is the option, is just to pick the token that we've discussed anyway in our previous homework and do exactly the same exercise. Is that correct? And the assign, what I think might be referred to as these is a whole different thing that is then for the following week, June 3rd. Did I understand this correctly?
Maybe Vasily, would you like to pull up the slide again to help clarifying?
Of course.
And again, sometimes it's worth reformulating. So it's good we check. Mm-hmm.
So for now we have only 2 days until the next session. So the homework is quite small because I expected some people already did it. I mean, did some first steps in the homework with the origins of value. So now you just need to enrich your submission with the value capturing mechanism and also at the same time fix all the issues that I mentioned in the feedback, because I provided feedback to all homeworks, short but particular, with focus on particular issues there. So, and you will be done. And on the coming session, the main focus will be the brainstorm for the thesis, for what you need to do, the questions. I will propose some projects for analysis or for new token creations for those who don't know what they want to do. Also, and describe some examples. If we will have time to provide more insights how I see the good results should be done. And also on the June 3rd, I will present my eigenlayer token analysis to show how. So I will do also the thesis with you as an example, of course, because the eigenlayer is quite demanded topic, so I think it will be interesting.
I guess my comment with the points was misleading. Actually, it's the message is either you continue working on the homework you already started. So some people submitted a homework, then you just continue working on it based on the feedback from Vasily, or you pick a value capturing mechanism and find a live project and come with this choice to the next session on Thursday with first ideas of value capturing mechanisms that you have detected there. And we check in this session, and then you either adapt your plans or continue working on this case until June 4th. Does this help, Victor?
Got it.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
We'll clarify also on the Discord, and you'll find these instructions also on the Notion. But thanks for asking. Cool. Vasily, anything else to share for today?
No, I think we're done for today. So thank you for your attention. It was almost 2 hours. So
Thanks everyone
for your focus.
And excited for going over the tokens and value capturing mechanisms you'll propose on Thursday. Thanks, and see you then.
Yes, you guys. Bye.
Bye.
The recording has stopped.